Alright, Dubstep, let's take a look at the video that you sent me. How Japan is destroying their games. Is it because they're trying to cater to the Western market? Is that the reason why? I'm just taking a guess. Let's find out, shall we? Who's the video by? Scatter V.
My dudes, get your lubes. And make sure you bring extra because we're going.
Hold on, it's super loud in my ears. Jesus Christ, it's fucking blowing my ears out. Holy cow. I'm gonna reduce that a little bit too as well. There we go. Alright, let's take a look, shall we?
Going real weepy with this one. If you've been following gaming news, I'm sure you've already noticed, but almost every Japanese gaming company that we grew up with has been getting a lot of heat for censorship, changing dialogue, and toning down adult themes over the past couple of years. What's going on here? Is this some type of conspiracy?
Fact.
Or is it just a bunch of weirdos overreacting? Well, hop in, my dudes. We're going back to a simpler time. I don't know when or what got you dudes into Japanese media, but for me, it was a combination of all the badass 90s anime. My favorites were Cowboy Bebop, Tenchi Muyo, Shadow Skull, and obviously Dragon Ball Z. This in combination of what I consider the peak of Japanese RPGs on the original PlayStation. I know everybody has their own favorite Final Fantasy game, but for most people, it's either 7, 8, or 9. But there were also a ton of other games that were just as good, like Star Ocean, Legend of Legaia, and Wild Arms. Now,
Holy shit, dude. The names that he's calling out or so, I have not heard these in a long time.
if you're really big into Japanese media or content, you'll probably notice that no matter how different the world or art style is, there is something that they all have in common, and that's the unmistakable Japanese tone, feel, and overall vibe.
True.
And also huge. No matter what the genre is, Japan has always been able to take something popular and make it their own. Story about pirates? Boom, One Piece, and Like a Dragon pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. Medieval European settings? Oh snap, Elden Ring! And the GOAT Ocarina of Time, bitches! Hup, hup, ha! It kinda makes you wonder, how does Japan come up with so many unique stories and worlds so easily? And why does it always turn out so bad when Western companies try to emulate this style? Like how they butchered my boy Cowboy Bebop. The reason Japan does so well creating rich stories and unique settings is because it's literally embedded into Japanese culture, in that they take something that's not inherently Japanese and they make it their own. And this goes back for
You think this is the reason why? Chat, you think this is the reason why I'm so super creative or so? When I told some of you guys about my stories and everything like that? I wonder if that's what it is for me, specifically, you know? You guys know exactly like how creative I am. I've shared like Dubstep I shared some of my stories with Dubstep. I even remade the entire like Destiny 1 lore, you know, completely from the ground up, you know, and it makes sense and everything, you know?
thousands of years, so we're going back even further. If you look at Japanese writing, clothing, architecture, and art, you'll notice that's very similar to what you see in ancient China. This isn't just some coincidence. It's because most of early Japan was built on Chinese influences. This is why people who have not studied or consumed Japanese media have a hard time telling the difference. Talking about you, Ubisoft. Ubisoft! It's over! For you! Not for me! So skip ahead a couple of centuries and Japan starts slowly introducing and adopting Western influences, such as clothing and politics. They also went a little...
the reason why, right? The reason why specifically, why, you know, why I am so creative with all this stuff, right? It's because I want to take you guys to a different world, you know? Share some fun stories and some wonderful memories with characters and everything like that, you know? That's why.
Too hard on the military. But hey, at least we got Tifa. Starting around the 1930s, Japanese animation started taking off. If you think you're looking at some vintage Mickey Mouse cartoon, you'd be wrong. Japan started off by emulating early Disney animation. And just like everything Japan touches, it became its own thing. And now they got us all out here watching some weird shit. There's this one anime where this dude has a notebook like in Death Note, but he writes the names of these cute girls in it. And then they...
こら、教えるなよ、絶対に。
my bad. that. So what does this all have to do with gaming? Well, in the 80s and 90s, Japan basically took over the auto and electronic industries with the same design philosophies. But more importantly, Nintendo launched its console, the Famicom, outside of Japan, pulling us out of the video game crash of 1983, which was caused by market saturation and poor quality games released by Atari. Nintendo literally saved console gaming with Mario and Zelda by blowing the minds of every kid back in the day. And
the funny thing about it, how he says that Nintendo literally saved gaming back then. Now Nintendo's trying to destroy gaming now. How ironic that they used to save the gaming market. Now they're trying to completely crash the entire gaming market. Well, crashing is probably extreme or so, but like, you know, I made you, I can destroy you. How ironic. How old is this video? Wait. How old is this actual video? Really? It's only 1 day old? Man, that's great. That's kind of ironic or so to hear that sentence, to be honest. Age like wine. When the hero becomes the villain, yep.
Unfortunately, the minds of stay-at-home moms as they started complaining about gaming violence.
Shame on people that produce that trash. It's child abuse in my judgment.
This led to
It's fucking child abuse. This is what you guys thought? This is what the Western thought about? Okay, all right. Okay, now I can kind of see where it all started, to be honest. Now everything is making 100%. I'm understanding a lot more why specifically, you know, why specifically the Western side became such a bunch of soft pansies now. Now I understand.
to one of the biggest scams in gaming ever created. Rating boards such as the ESRB, which was established in 1994. And since other countries have different views on what's appropriate for children, Japan followed suit, creating Sero in 2002, and also Europe created Peggy in 2004. These companies literally created a problem and are selling gaming studios the solution, as it can cost thousands of dollars to have a game rated. And since these companies are privately owned and self-regulated, they get to decide on what is offensive.
I mean, Nintendo forgets after the Wii U, they were struggling in it, and it was a consumer, and even Sony spoke out to give Nintendo another chance.
Japanese and Western developers have criticized Sero specifically for being too strict, such as Horihoji-san, the creator of Dragon Quest, and the creator of Kirby and Super Smash Bros., Sakurai Masahiro-san. Hey, are you paying attention? Or are you looking at the Japanese waitress? Come on, dudes, pay attention. Now, a lot of people think that all this censorship we keep seeing in Japanese games is only due to Sero being strict, but you're not seeing the whole picture. It's only part of the problem. It doesn't explain why we keep seeing games censoring content that would have zero impact on the rating of the game. But even if it did, I don't respect any company that is willing to dumb down and censor their content instead of just respecting the core material. Not to mention the people that are buying these games have only gotten older, and literally nobody gives a shit about ratings anymore.
True.
So what's going on?
True.
Well, let's look at the facts. These companies all proudly state on their website their commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is a Western
Yep. There it is. There it is. There it is, chat. Right there. These are the kind of people that are making your video games, chat. These are the women, you know.
ideology. It's not Japanese. But what does that mean exactly? And does it really have a negative impact on Japanese games? Hamaguchi Naoki-san, who was the project lead for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, recently stated that there is a change of essence in Square Enix's approach to game development in terms of prioritizing the global audience right from the beginning. And this starts with their hiring practices. Historically, Japanese companies like Squaresoft, now Square Enix, had a workforce that was predominantly Japanese, especially in their early years. However, they've been trying to diversify their company by hiring foreign nationals to localize and work on their games.
Oh, is this literally what's been happening over there in... Okay. All right. I see. So this is what's been happening over there in Japan.
now state that around 50% of their middle management is now foreign nationals. And while they don't state what percent of their total employees are non-Japanese, Capcom, which has had a ton of controversy for their censorship, does. They stated that now 6.8% of their staff is not Japanese, which is insane for a Japanese company working inside of Japan. So let me ask you dudes, what do you think happens when you slowly start replacing Japanese developers and Japanese culture with non-Japanese people that don't understand Japanese culture at all? Well, it's pretty obvious that these games are going to start to feel less and less Japanese and look more Western. This is why we keep seeing female characters being censored and world building that does not feel or look like it was created by a Japanese studio. This is
Thank you. I swear to thank you. Someone fucking put him put not out of his misery, to be honest. Dude, I was like wondering, I was like, bro, this does not feel like the story for this God Monster Hunter Wilds game is like so terrible, dude. I'm just like, dude, there's something off with this story, dude. It feels like a chat GPT story for some apparent reason. I have no idea, dude. Honestly, it really does feel like a chat GPT story. I just don't know. Something about this specific thing. It's just like, I am Arc-Veiled Re. Oh man, dude.
This is one of the reasons that this body type A or B nonsense is such a red flag, as it shows that the game has more than likely been created with a non-Japanese audience in mind. Not a single Japanese person is walking around Japan and wanting this in their games, or even understand what the hell it is. It's literally US gender ideologies being forced into Japanese content, and many of us have been noticing this going on with Japanese games for a while now. But
I bet you $10, those people who are applying to some of these companies, I bet you their dream is to live in Japan or so, and that's what they wanted to do. I bet you that's what it is, and that's probably the best way for them to get into the company or so, is to apply to these things or so, you know. It was like, oh, it's like a free work visa in Japan, my dream home that I want to live at, until they realize that, you know, it's not what they think it is, you know.
Don't take my word for it. Masahiro Sakurai-san has voiced his opinion on the matter recently regarding the direction of Japanese games. He was asked on his thoughts on the noticeable boom in the Chinese gaming market, which by the way wouldn't be as popular if Japanese devs got their shit together. Also, some people tried to say that this was a mistranslation, but I went ahead and translated this myself. He stated, I believe Japanese people should push forward with what they love. A while back there was this culture of thinking, since various works are popular in America, let's make Americanized stuff, a tendency to align with a de facto standard, which is a product or specification that becomes the standard through market competition. But surprisingly, overseas fans of Japanese games don't seem to want that. I feel like they're seeking Japanese uniqueness and the charm that comes with it. In other words, I think it's ideal to create what you like freely and let those who enjoy it embrace it. And
Facts. Fucking facts, dude. Man, that is so fucking facts right there. This is why I keep saying that Monster Hunter games are for the Japanese audiences. When it was released to the West, it's all shit show now. I like the older ones personally. I don't know. I just kind of like some of the aestheticness from the older games. That's why the older games are just more enjoyable from time to time, you know?
he's exactly right. He perfectly explains the issues plaguing Japanese games right now. And this is why Chinese companies are starting to take over. Literally nobody wants to play westernized Japanese games. But for some reason, these companies keep using internal localizers or go out of their way to pay activist companies labeling themselves as sensitivity consultants to censor female characters, hide any offensive content, and modernize the game so that it doesn't offend anybody instead of just
You want to know something, chat? When I eventually open up my own video game studio in the future, chat, we're only making hot characters only. Hot men and hot women. I don't give a fuck, dude. The fat people can be villains at the end of the day, you know? Man, where all the sexy female characters is what I live for. Why do you think chat, why do you think when I draw my VTuber model, right? I'm gonna show this for my YouTube audiences, right? I'm gonna show my YouTube audiences here. Why do you think when I draw my own VTuber model, right? Let's take a look at the old one, right? The old one. Where is it at? What's going on here? She's hot, you know? We got another one right here. What is she? She's hot. You see what I'm working here with? You see what I'm working here with? Last but not least, what do we have here, chat? She's hot. See? Like I said, chat, I draw sexy characters because I like sexy characters at the end of the day.
Ruby you, Ruby you, Ruby you.
Because you want to know something? The sex always sells and the market has that. They need that. There's blood. They're like salivating from the mouth. That's what they want in the video game market. They want a hot character to look at, you know? A nice, beautiful, handsome
She
man.
can gaslight me anytime.
They want a hot, you know, girls want hot men. For God's sakes, Bao wants literally to be railed by a fucking wolf guy, for God's sakes, you know? There are girls who are like, you know, red flag men, you know? There are girls who like, you know, very well sophisticated kind of guys, you know? There's a market for those, you know? For me personally, I always try to find a balance between both, you know? Both the female and the males have to have, you know, hotness. The only time I'll ever make like a fat character, right? If he's like a jolly, like he's a fun, jolly type of character at the end of the day. You know, like the guy from Tekken, right? I know there's a fat dude in Tekken, right? Pretty much something like that, you know? Just something like a really funny comedic character, you know? Bob, is that his name, Bob? Yeah, I would do a comedic character, you know? A fun, lovable, fluffy, you know, fluffy guy, you know? Not some dude, not some fat guy saying like, oh, well, you know, it's wrong to be skinny, you know? I'm not gonna do any of that, you know?
Directly translating them like they did back in the day. I think the best way to show this is with the original Final Fantasy VII, which was released in 1997, and the remake, which was released in 2020, with Part 2, Rebirth, being released in 2024. This 30-year gap shows exactly how much of an impact Western ideologies have had on a Japanese company like Square Enix. And I've already made a video about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth that goes more in depth with the issues I have with those games, but since I played the OG, remake, and Rebirth all in English and Japanese, it's easy to see how much of an impact the West has had on Japanese games. Oh, but I like those games, so you're wrong. Man, shut up. I'm not saying that these games are terrible, and there's nothing wrong with criticizing something you like or discussing its shortcomings.
Disappointed!
Just understand that these changes either made the game worse or less Japanese.
Wait. Go back a little bit.
Just understand that these changes either made the game worse.
Is this the old Tifa design? The one on the left? I see what they did. I see what they did. It's not a huge change, but they do you know what they did? They had like a black tank top underneath her her white shirt thing, you know? I like these. I like the sleeves a lot more on this one than this one, to be honest. Thigh highs they're all right, but I think the naked legs are a little bit more better personally. Because I don't think I remember the old Tifa design. That's the reason why.
or less Japanese. While playing these games, I noticed that a ton of dialogue and content was changed in the remake and rebirth from the original game, as it could be deemed offensive to women or put minorities in a negative light. Unfortunately, these changes have had a huge impact on character development and world building, which made the original game feel unique and inherently Japanese. Look at this scene from the original game that takes place on a train in Midgard.
Okay.
A character named Jesse tells Cloud that when the lights go off, you never know what kind of creeps will come out, which makes you think about pickpockets or something. But in Japanese, she says, "Kuraku naru kara chikan ga oi no yo."
Free Japanese lesson.
Kuraku naru kara chikan ga oi
Oh,
no
wait,
yo
is this
means that
what I
when the
think this
lights
is?
go out, there are a lot of chikan. And I'm sure a lot of you
I fucking knew it. I fucking knew. I was like, is this what I think this is gonna be?
weebs know about chikan,
Yep.
but it's a Japanese specific social issue. The best way for me to translate it would be a train molester, which has been an ongoing issue in
Yep.
Japan. There are some
Yep.
weirdo dudes that try to grope women on crowded trains. This is why there are female-only trains available during rush hour times. In 1997, the translator for the game used the term creeps instead of chikan, but it wasn't because it was offensive. It was because it's too hard to explain in English. This is called localization, which can be hit or miss depending on how it's handled, like how they messed up rice balls in Pokemon.
These donuts are great.
Jelly-filled donuts are my favorite.
Nothing beats a
Jelly-filled donut.
What the hell are you talking about, bro? Anyway, so how was this handled in the remake? Well, it was just completely removed from both the English and Japanese version, because you can't offend women whatsoever, stripping a Japanese specific issue that shows how much of a dangerous place the slums of Midgar are.
To be honest, actually putting light on that or so actually, like, you know, makes you more aware of, like, you know, gropers on a train, because then you search up and be like, what's Chikon or so, right? You search it up and what it is, and you're just like, oh, so that's what that is. Oh, but if you're trying to hide it away or so, I think these video games try to tell you, you know, the wrong things of, like, society itself, you know? But if you're just trying to, like, wash it away or hide it away, you know, it just basically like, oh, we're just gonna put a blanket over it. Don't worry about it, you know? Even though there's like shit underneath it, you know, we're just gonna cover it, you know? Don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it. Man, these enablers are evolving, but backwards. Yeah, this is basically not giving awareness to this. I feel like video games, like personally, I think video games give awareness to certain things, but apparently, you know, there's a lot of people who get butthurt and offended now these days. That like, no, we don't. Make sure you take that out. You know, they're gonna get offended and stuff like that. I'm like, number one, right? A lot of people don't like to be told or don't like to be said, be like, oh, you're gonna get offended. You don't need to read this. Look, we're all adults here, okay? We can handle it, all right? We're not kids anymore, all right? We're not like the young kids that we used to grow up on the older Final Fantasy games or on the young consoles or everything like that, you know? We're old people, all right? We understand what we're getting ourselves into.
Hey, maybe you think this is not a big deal, but these changes happen throughout the entire game. The most offensive one being the Honeybee Inn from Sector 5, which was a Japanese-specific brothel or soporando. In the original game, there was even cut content where you were able to pick a girl that you like. Wait, what?
おじさん、ソープって何？
Well, it's like Disneyland, but a lot better. Basically, in Japan, there are places you can go and pay money to have a girl wash your entire body and... Man, come on, you dudes got Google? So in the remake, they scrapped everything and turned it into some cringe Vegas-style burlesque show where you're forced to dance with some gay dude in order to virtue signal instead. Nothing in this scene is Japanese. It's the worst part of the game, and you can't even skip it like you could in the original one. And no, it's not cringe because this dude's gay. It's just that since most gay dudes look like everybody else, Square Enix won't be able to get their virtue signal points, so they have to put this dude in spandex in order to get the point across.
Yeah, didn't you know every gay guy wears spandex, chat? Don't you know that, chat? Every gay guy wears spandex. Every single one of them. We all know this for a fact, chat. You know, everybody knows this. Why does this feel like so like what's the word? Stereotypical. Why is this such a stereotype, you know?
It's terrible. Come on, dudes. These Japanese companies are so bad at virtue signaling that it breaks the immersion.
True beauty is an expression of the heart. A thing without shame, to which notions of gender don't apply.
Interesting. Huh.
Don't ever be afraid, Cloud.
I've said this before, but my favorite character in Baldur's Gate 3 was Astarion. And he was obviously made to be bisexual or whatever, but he was portrayed as a cold-hearted, selfish asshole throughout the entire game, and is deeply flawed. This leads up to one of the most badass revenge side stories I've ever seen in an RPG. However, I've noticed that in Western AAA games, and recent Japanese games specifically, you can't treat minorities or LGBT characters like normal people that have flaws because of this.
Wait, hold on. Diversity, less straight and white dudes, equity, elevate minorities even if it feels forced or uneven, inclusion, blend everyone together to minimize distinct and promote uniformity. Bruh. Wait. Is this the reason why Ubisoft confuses Chinese stuff with Japanese stuff? Is that the reason why? Is this part of their DEI shit? Is that the reason why? Is that like the reason why we get like why Ubisoft thinks that Chinese people are the same as Japanese people? It makes a lot of sense now, actually. No, it's part of their DEI. Look, see, blends everyone together to minimize distinctions and promote uniformity, chat. Remember, chat, they're trying to do inclusion, so they're trying to include them together, you know? Everybody knows Chinese, Filipino, Korean, Vietnamese, Malaysia, you know, fucking Taiwan. Everybody's all under one single, you know, unity. Right, Chad? Everybody lives in Asian town city, you know? Does this sound like communist? Man. Wow. DEI is such an amazing thing. Towards Orientals have to be so stupid.
Whole equity bullshit or whatever. In Final Fantasy VII Remake, they changed my favorite character Barrett's biggest point of growth. In the original game, Barrett leads the eco-terrorist group known as Avalanche. And in the first mission of the game, you set off to blow up a reactor, which ends up killing thousands of innocent people, which later Barrett regrets, as he states he has a lot of blood on his hands. Too much that he feels it's wrong to even hold his adopted daughter. Well, in the remake, they changed it where the bomb that he planted was just some tiny explosion, and it was actually Shinra that blew up the reactor instead. It completely ruins the impact of his decision and the burden he carries throughout the entire game. And they did this just so that Barrett did not get labeled as some eco-terrorist. It's just so stupid. I'll admit.
He's black. He can't be a terrorist. Wow, that's interesting. I didn't know that's how it was in the older Final Fantasy game, actually. Actually, I kind of like the older Final Fantasy a lot more, because that's really good character development, you know? Wow. Don't worry, chat. When I make stories or so, they are not going to be censored, okay? You're going to get the, like, you know, what I wrote in the script, you know?
In the OG, there was not a lot of black characters with a lot of dialogue in the world, but there was one dude named Mr. Coates who was basically a gang leader in the Golden Saucer prison. Since I was a kid, I always pictured this dude like one of those gang members in the movie Meteor Man. Man, I'm getting old. So anyways, black guy in a prison gang. What should we do? Oh, let's race swap him to be some Vanilla Ice looking dude. Problem solved. Come on. This same thing happened with Larry from the Dead Rising remake as well. This is the only time you'll.
What? Are you serious? Wait. Can I go back a little bit? He doesn't even look the same. I see. Man literally turned from black to being white. He's literally the Michael Jackson in the Final Fantasy world. Holy shit, dude.
This same thing happened with Larry from the Dead Rising
Asian to white. Interesting.
remake as well. This is the only time you'll see a character in a game or movie that's a minority being replaced with some white dude. It's just so obvious why they did this. Man, I just gotta be real. These major AAA Japanese companies have had a hard time making stories that players enjoy. Even with Monster Hunter Wilds, which even though it was a huge success, most people's biggest complaint about the game was how bad the story is. And
oh my god, fucking finally. Holy shit, man.
You should just skip it to get to the end game. But traditionally, Japanese games have always been carried by their stories. And if Monster Hunter Wild's characters weren't so bad, except for Alma and Gemma, maybe people would have enjoyed.
Mods don't count, okay? Mods don't count. I'm not a huge fan of Alma because she ruined my experience with Monster Hunter, saying, "No, you're not allowed to hunt this monster. Stop hunting this monster. Nyaru, I need you to stop hunting this monster." I'm like, shut up, bitch. I'm working. I'm trying to capture the monster so I can take it to the science team so they can study the monster so I can put it in my journal. Shut the fuck up. Like, I'm trying to do their job. Fucking A, dude. I swear to God, dude. I'm like, shut up. Alma, shut the fuck up. I'm trying to do their job.
For these people, the only acceptable whitewashing is if they are the bad guy. But based from my observations, the evil white dudes in the woke crap are usually one of the GOATs, even better than the MC itself.
My uncle just recently had a set of twins. Their name is Juan and Jamal, but he only keeps a picture of Juan because once you see Juan, you've seen Jamal. Eh? I don't know if that's a dad joke. Is that a dad joke? I don't even know.
Enjoyed the story a lot more. But hey dudes, look, I can go on and on about censorship, and I have a ton of videos that talk about it. But almost every remake or remaster from the top Japanese companies in the past 5 years have either been censored, had offensive dialogue changed, or gender removed, and I'm just so sick of it. And it sucks that the game I'm looking most forward to about Japan is Showa American Story, which is being developed by a Chinese studio. Come on.
True.
Maybe one day Japanese companies will pull their heads out of their asses and stop following the trends from failing Western companies and go back to their roots. There's a reason games such as Like a Dragon are so popular right now.
Yeah.
It's because of how so over-the-top Japanese they are, it feels almost alien to people. And also huge jugs. Peace.
That's a good video. That was a very good video. Sakurai said it best. The best games from Japan are the ones that stop catering to the outside world. Yep, that's very true. Very true indeed. Why do you think when I create stories or so, I always make stories, for them to be enjoyable, characters that you hate, all of this, I want you to have like different kinds of emotions or so, or when a character dies, it actually feels like, you actually lost a friend, Like, actually, you lost a loved one, you lost a friend, you lost a brother, you lost a sister, something like that, I want you guys, to feel for the character, some of these characters or so, when you're like, when you're building or so, bonds or so, quotation marks, bonds or so, it doesn't really feel like a bond, So, that's the only reason why, but that's just me, though. It was a good VOD. Thank you. That was a very good VOD, actually. I'm gonna subscribe to him. What a good channel, to be honest. Very good channel. Scatter V. Very, very enjoyable. That was really nice. I actually did enjoy that, actually. Wow, okay. Alright, yeah. I've been noticing a lot of censorship ever since, well, first personally, right? Ever since that Sony moved over to America, Sony Japan moved over to America. They moved their headquarters over. A lot of the games got censored or so, especially Devil May Cry with the weird, stupid white flash thing. They've been hating on the game. They've also been hating on Senran Kagura too as well. Why do you think personally I enjoy Senran Kagura? It's just cute girls doing awesome cute things. So personally, I just enjoyed Senran Kagura. That was like one of my favorite franchises back then. But unfortunately, there's not anymore, but it is what it is anyways. That's the end of the video. You guys can comment, like, subscribe, do all that fancy jazzy stuff, and yeah, good video. Love it. Japan is destroying their games. Unfortunately, it's true. Don't worry. My creativeness will revive stuff, but hey, we'll see what happens in the future. That's the end of the video, and peace.